I've been using Xiaomi 17 Ultra for a few months, and the more I use it, the more I realize how useful the continuous telephoto lens and having a large 1-inch type main camera sensor is. Galaxy S26 Ultra, on the other hand, has this new privacy display that is super useful and upgraded camera hardware, but the camera sensors are still behind of what Xiaomi offers. Today I'm going to test the cameras of these two phones thoroughly, but also we'll talk about the displays as it became a controversial topic. The main camera of Xiaomi is a 1-inch type sensor with f1.7, while Galaxy is offering a 1 divided by 1.3 inch sensor with f1.4. When taking photos, you will notice that Xiaomi offers simply a better bokeh and there is more visible background blur. This is something that makes the photos look more professional and distinguish between a dedicated camera and a phone. For color science too, the Xiaomi is at least more interesting. It has two modes, Leica Vibrant and Leica Authentic. The Vibrant mode is more similar to what Galaxy and iPhone offer. The colors are slightly saturated. The Authentic mode, on the other hand, has more muted colors and is contrasty. I will write down which mode I'm using next to the images. On both Leica modes, the Xiaomi photos tend to have more magenta in the white balance, while the Galaxy photos are slightly towards green, as you can see in these pictures. Galaxy also has the tendency to raise the shadows a bit more and making the photo look more uniformly bright. Especially on a skin tone, I do notice Xiaomi adds a bit more color to the face, even in Leica Authentic mode, compared to the Galaxy. The other thing that is common in Xiaomi 17 Ultra is that the exposure is half a stop more than the Galaxy, which results in brighter pictures overall. I also do feel it does raise the whites a bit, like in the mosaics of this picture. That's not necessarily something bad, but I do feel sometimes my pictures are more exposed than what I want them to be. In this shot in auto mode, the Xiaomi overexposed the shot, resulting in the moon, which is one of the most important elements of the shot, to be completely white. Therefore, I had to decrease the exposure by one stop and shoot the picture again, and this time I got what I wanted. The problem is it doesn't always overexpose. Sometimes, like this picture, the exposure is just perfect. So I can't simply underexpose by default and call it a day. Sometimes, like this shot, it does also slightly underexpose, which results in a slightly darker picture than the Galaxy. But I should say close to the sunset, the exposure of the picture on the Xiaomi is just perfect. Also, there is almost no banding in the sky compared to the Galaxy. It does make the photo much more moody, and it looks like something coming out of a Fujifilm or Leica camera rather than a phone. For food pictures here, I'm using Leica Vibrant, and the Xiaomi pictures have a bit more orange tint in them, but overall both are doing a fine job. One thing about Xiaomi processing is that it also freezes motion better. For example, in this picture, the cyclist is frozen. In low light too, when I was shaking my head to test the motion blur, I noticed Xiaomi freezes the motion better than the Galaxy S26 Ultra, as you can see in these shots. For video with the main lens, it is very interesting how the color differs, where the Galaxy this time has lots of magenta in the sky, while Xiaomi made the sky very blue. The reality was something in between. For indoor videos, they are both doing a great job. With not much noise, despite having a phone-sized sensor, and the stabilization is better on the Galaxy. Galaxy also has this crazy lock stabilization mode. As you can see, no matter what I do, the image stays stabilized. For the telephoto lens, the Galaxy S26 Ultra has a 67mm camera and a 111mm camera lens, while Xiaomi has a continuous 75 to 100mm zoom. The sensor of the Xiaomi is much larger than the 3x zoom of the Galaxy. For things like buildings in daylight, the difference is not going to show as much, like the picture I took here with 3x zoom, but when you move to a more complex situation, like this picture, if you zoom into the subject, you can see there is no comparison between the two, especially since the Galaxy photo is only 10 megapixel. Indoors, the Xiaomi on 3x is just much better, with better bokeh, better dynamic range, and more details. And even during the day, when light is not sufficient, like in a narrow street in Barcelona, you can see how much better the Xiaomi photo is at this specific zoom. Moving to 5x zoom closer to 100mm, the result is more similar, especially during daylight. The photos can be very close to each other, even though the Xiaomi sensor is larger. But zooming a bit more to 200mm, where the phones should crop the photo, you can start to see Xiaomi here too is creating a nicer picture overall. And of course, the bokeh of the telephoto portraits on Xiaomi is going to be stronger due to the larger sensor compared to the Galaxy. For zooming like crazy, the Xiaomi picture is cleaner, but also the AI is more aggressive in generating information that doesn't necessarily exist in the first place, whereas Galaxy is more doing upscaling. For video with the telephoto lens, you can see the background blur is stronger on the Xiaomi. That said, I really like the processing of the video on the Galaxy more. You can also do telephoto macro on both phones. Optically, the Xiaomi is doing better here, but again, I feel the highlights are overblown. The ultrawide camera on both phones is obviously the weakest, but Galaxy at least has a bit of a wider focal length. That means when you take a picture, you can simply fit more into the frame. For night photos, I found Xiaomi doing better processing, likely due to being able to gather more information with the larger sensor, especially in the light reflection part. And the photos look less noisy. As you can see, Xiaomi is increasing the ISO only to 200, which is amazing considering it is just a phone. Xiaomi 17 Ultra is like a camera with a phone attached to it, but of course there is more to it. For example, the battery is the new silicon carbide technology, and therefore they were able to put a larger capacity of 6000 mAh, whereas the Galaxy is having a 5000 mAh battery. I used the Chinese version for this comparison, and I'll put the link in the description if you want to get that version. I'm also going to do a full battery test soon, so subscribe to not miss that video. The charging speed of the Galaxy is up to 60 watts, whereas Xiaomi is up to 90 watts. The Xiaomi wireless charging speed is up to 50 watts, whereas Galaxy is up to 25 watts. Both support reverse wired and wireless charging, but neither support MagSafe out of the box. But there is a simple solution for that, and that's using a MagSafe case from the sponsor of today's video, Dbrand. You know Dbrand from their cool designs, but my favorite case from them is this simple clear one that is going to stay rent-free on my phone. You can also attach any MagSafe accessory to it, and it won't fall off as they have a strong magnet inside the case. If you feel bold and you want to be cool, you can get this tank case. They even have this epic design on the back. The case is super rugged too and is the clickiest one I've ever seen. I simply love how it feels in hand. You can also get a more boring but military grade case with grippy sides to protect your expensive phone while spending just a few bucks on it. I put the links in the description. Grab yours as I already love mine, and thanks to Dbrand for sponsoring this video. For displays, there's a lot of controversy about the Galaxy display that they're still using an 8-bit panel. I did compare the Galaxy S26 Ultra display to the S25 Ultra, iPhone, Xiaomi and Pixel, and I can tell you the banding is definitely less noticeable than the S25 Ultra, likely because they are using FRC to emulate being 10-bit. That said, it is not as accurate and good for hiding banding as the 12-bit panel of the Xiaomi 17 Ultra made by TCL. Also, Xiaomi 17 Ultra PWM is 2160 Hz compared to 480 Hz on Samsung, which protects your eyes as there will be less flickering on the display. That said, the Galaxy S26 Ultra has two main advantages over Xiaomi. For one, it has a strong anti-reflective properties which help when you want to read under direct sunlight. Second, there is this new privacy display which I personally activate whenever I'm sitting in public transport. Especially, the hiding of notifications is very interesting. For performance, the Galaxy is using the Snapdragon 8 Elite Generation 5 Galaxy Edition, while the Xiaomi is using the vanilla version of it. Overall, there won't be any real difference between the two, but at least in benchmarks like Geekbench, the Galaxy gets a bit higher score in both single-core and multi-core compared to the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Overall, the Galaxy S26 Ultra offers a great experience with One UI. It has a practical display for outdoors and protects your privacy, has decent camera hardware, and an S Pen that can be very useful for people like me. On the other hand, the Xiaomi has Leica colors, much better camera hardware, especially the better telephoto lens, and the continuous zoom, which can be very useful in certain scenarios. The downside is you won't find the phone in all markets, and it is also harder to sell them. I'm talking from experience. If you enjoyed this video and want to see how Xiaomi 17 Ultra compares to S26 Ultra, Pixel 10 Pro and iPhone 17 Pro with more focus on portrait photography, you can watch this video next. Thanks for tuning in to Tecmo, and I will see you in the next one.